In this video, we are going to review what has been learned from Unit 3, Lesson 1 through 6. In order to complete this review, you will need your iControl student workbook and something to write with. If you do not have what you need at this time, please pause the video and press play when you are ready to continue. If you do not need to view all of the lessons in this video, feel free to skip to the lessons you need using the times provided. In Unit 3, you'll learn about emotions and emotion control, including identifying emotions, their characteristics, and the strategies you can use to help control them. Emotions have two main functions. They help us communicate with ourselves and communicate with others. First, you can communicate your emotions to others by using verbal and nonverbal language. Verbal language refers to the words people hear you say. Nonverbal language refers to what others see you do, such as facial expressions, body language, or posture. Your verbal and nonverbal language can express how you feel about situations. For example, you can communicate fear by saying, "I'm scared," or you can express fear with your body, like closing your eyes, clenching your jaw, closing up your body, or trembling. Sometimes, what you say and what you do can express different things, such as when you have an argument with someone and they say, "Oh, that's okay," but they glare at you and walk away. When there's a difference between what you say and what you do, people will usually respond to what you do. Because emotions can be communicated in many different ways, it's important to think about both your verbal and nonverbal expression so that others can understand what you're trying to communicate. The second function of emotion is to communicate with yourself. Sometimes you'll pick up on signals about a situation without really thinking about it. Some of the signals you may get are thinking, "Something doesn't feel right about this," or "I had a feeling something was about to happen." For instance, you may feel uneasy about the way a friend is acting, and you feel like something bad is going to happen. Later, you have a big argument. That feeling you had was right. Sometimes the information your emotions communicate to you isn't true, but your emotions make it seem true. You may be home alone, feeling lonely and anxious. You start thinking that no one really cares about you. You call some friends, but no one is able to come over and hang out. You get more anxious, lonely, and sad. In this situation, your emotions could make you believe something that may not be true. Your friends might just have other plans that they can't change, but that doesn't mean they don't care about you. So it's important to pay attention to whether your emotions are communicating the right thing. You need to pay attention to your emotions because they often help you decide what's really important to you. Sometimes it's difficult to trust your own emotions because people or situations that you're in might be giving you a different message. For example, you might join the drama club at school and be excited about it. But if your friends keep telling you it's really not cool to be in drama, you may eventually ignore your feelings about it and start to believe they're right. It's important for you to really think about why you think and feel the way you do. You may just assume that your emotion is fact when it's not. For example, "I feel stupid, so I must be stupid," or "I hate him, so he's a bad person." It's important to think about emotional reactions to things, because this is an important way you communicate with yourself. For example, you thought you couldn't get good grades in middle school because you didn't do well in elementary school. Your negative emotions about how you had done before made you think you couldn't improve. Handout 1.1 is an emotion journal. Think about the emotions you've experienced today. Think about the strongest emotion, the one that lasted the longest, or was the most difficult for you to deal with. Why do you think you felt that way? Describe the situation, then circle the phrase that best describes the emotion's function. Communicate to others or communicate to yourself. Pause the video while you complete the emotion journal on Handout 1.1. When you're done, press play. Let's turn to the content questions for Unit 3, Lesson 1 in your iControl student workbook to check your understanding of this lesson. Pause the video while you answer the questions. When you're done, press play. For question 1, if you selected D, you are correct. Emotions help us to communicate with others and communicate with ourselves. For question 2, if you selected D, you are correct. An example of nonverbal language is body gestures or facial expressions. In Lesson 2, you'll learn how labeling your feelings with emotion labels helps you understand them. You see, hear, smell, taste, and feel things through your 5 senses. Each one collects information and sends it to your brain, so you know what's going on around you and in your own body. The pieces of information that come from your senses are called sensations. In the first photo on the slide, A dad is carrying his little girl with a tornado in the background. They're using their sense of sight to see a tornado is coming, and they can feel and hear the wind, so they know it's close, and they might even be able to smell the rain or the dust in the air. Now pause the video and turn to handout 2.1 in your student workbook. Circle the sensations a little girl and her father might be experiencing. When you've finished the first one, do the same thing with the other two scenarios. When you're done, press play. You use your five senses to understand what's happening in different situations. These sensations send information to your body, and you react to the information in a number of ways that we refer to as feelings. For example, the sensations you experience while on a river, such as the heat of the warm sun or the babbling noise of the water, might cause you to have bodily reactions or feelings. Your muscles might relax, or a smile may appear on your face. Your heart might beat slowly and calmly. Your senses interpret the environment and provide you with information that can cause you to have physical reactions or feelings. Feelings provide clues to your emotions during a situation. You use your brain to interpret your physical feelings and actions and label them as emotions such as happiness, sadness, fear, or anger. Physical feelings such as heart rate, skin, or body temperature, how wide open your eyes are, how your stomach feels, sweaty hands or body, shaking in your body, and headaches or body aches all act as clues. There are many different clues that help you understand the emotions you're experiencing. The feelings that might indicate you are angry include fast heartbeat, tight muscles, heavy breathing, feeling shaky, feeling sick to your stomach, a tightened jaw, feeling like crying, screaming, or running away. It's important to remember that all of your emotions stem from the physical reactions you call feelings. Let's use the river example to think about the 3 steps that occur when you experience an emotion. First, you experience sensations from your surroundings. Warm sun on your face, cool breeze blowing. Next, your body reacts to these sensations in the form of physical feelings. Slow heartbeat, relaxed muscles, and a smile on your face. Finally, you recognize your feelings and label them as emotions. Happiness. Pause the video and use handout 2.2 in your workbook to practice thinking about the sensations, feelings, and emotions in this situation. Try to come up with a couple of words for each step. When you're done, press play. Let's turn to the content questions for Unit 3, Lesson 2 in your iControl student workbook to check your understanding of this lesson. Pause the video while you answer the questions. When you're done, press play. For question 1, if you selected C, you are correct. The sensations you get from your surroundings can cause feelings in your body. For question 2, if you selected B, you are correct. You use your brain to identify the feelings in your body and label them as emotions. In Lesson 3, you'll learn about the 4 most common emotions people experience. Before we start, let's do a fun activity, the shifting game. Turn to handout 3.1 before we review the rules. If there is a thick red border around the emotion symbol, then circle the name of the emotion on your paper. If there is no border, then circle the color of the emotion symbol on your paper. Let's practice before you play the game. Please circle either the name of the emotion or the color of the emotion symbol on handout 3.1 after each slide has been viewed for 3 seconds. Based on the rules, you would circle the color purple for practice 1 because there is no thick red border. For practice 2, you would circle the emotion happiness because there is a border around the picture. Let's continue with the rest of the game, but we will only do the first 8. Let's check your results. How did you do? Notice how you needed to use your shifting skills to go back and forth between the border rule and the no border rule? By practicing your shifting skills, you can strengthen your ability to think about and respond to difficult emotional situations in a more positive way. Although there are many different emotions, happiness, fear, sadness, and anger are the 4 most common emotions everyone experiences. If you're experiencing the emotion of happiness, you usually raise your lips at the corners of your mouth, tighten the muscles around your eyes so they close a little, and raise your cheeks. You may feel a weight lifted off your shoulders or have butterflies in your stomach from excitement. If you're experiencing the emotion of fear, you are scared or anxious. When you are afraid, you usually raise your eyebrows and pull them together, widen your eyes, or stretch out your lips. You may have sweaty palms, a racing heartbeat, a knot in your stomach, or tight shoulders. If you're experiencing the emotion of sadness, you may feel emptiness, hopelessness, or loss. You usually droop your upper eyelids, lose focus in your eyes, or pull down the corners of your lip. You may feel a lack of interest, be tired, or have a hard time concentrating. If you're experiencing the emotion of anger, you are displeased with something or upset with someone. Your eyebrows usually pull down and come closer together. Your lips may narrow or pinch together, and you may glare at the person who angered you. Your body may become hot, your heart could race, you could have a hard time breathing, and your jaw may tighten. Sometimes you experience emotions that involve only your own basic emotions, but when you become aware of the feelings or expectations of other people, your emotions become more complex. These are called social emotions because they involve other people. One example of a complex social emotion is guilt. Guilt is made up of your own sadness or fear, plus an awareness that you've caused someone to be disappointed in you. For example, if you said really mean things about someone that weren't true, you'd probably feel sad about what you did. And if you also realized that your mom would be really disappointed in you, then you'd feel guilt. Pause the video and do the matching activity on handout 3.2 that will help you understand the meaning of the 4 common emotions you've learned. In the top section, you'll read an emotion label on the left side of the page. Then you'll draw a line to the description on the right that best matches the definition or the feelings associated with that emotion. Then, in the bottom section, you'll match the picture of each emotion with the correct label. When you're done, press play. Now turn to handout 3.3. Think about a social emotion you've experienced today or within the past few days and write another entry in your emotion journal. Remember that you've experienced a social emotion when you're conscious of the feelings or the expectations of others. When you're done, press play. Let's turn to the content questions for Unit 3, Lesson 3 in your iControl student workbook to check your understanding of this lesson. Pause the video while you answer the questions. When you're done, press play. For question 1, if you selected D, you are correct. Laughter is not an emotion that we feel and express. For question 2, if you selected A, you are correct. Sometimes our emotions can also involve the expectations of others. Lesson 4, you'll learn about the labels that we give the common emotions of different strengths. First, locate handout 4.1 in your student workbook so we can do a quick review that will get you thinking about how similar emotions can have different strengths or different intensities. You'll read each scenario and decide which emotion matches the scenario. You'll write the emotion on the line, then decide how strong that emotion would be for that scenario. You'll fill in the thermometer to show how intense that emotion would be. Remember, the stronger the emotion, the more you fill in the thermometer. For example, in the first scenario, the teacher ignores you every time you raise your hand, and you know the right answer every time. You might have feelings of anger, so you write anger on the emotion line. Based on how strong your anger would be for that scenario, you fill in the thermometer to show how intense your anger would be. Pause the video to respond to the remaining 7 scenarios. When you're done, press play. Take a moment to check your responses. Sometimes you need to use different labels for your emotions so you can accurately describe weaker or stronger emotions. Emotion intensity refers to the strength of your feelings in relation to a situation. Let's take the emotion of anger, for example. These pictures show people experiencing different levels of anger intensity. The thermometer shows how the emotion, anger, becomes more intense or stronger. The emotion is weaker at the bottom of the thermometer and gets stronger toward the top. The list beside the pictures shows some of the feelings you may experience when you have anger emotions. Stronger feelings usually indicate stronger emotion intensity. For example, if a classmate teases you once, you can usually shrug it off and forget about it because you are only irritated. If they continue, however, you may become angry or even enraged if they refuse to stop. As your level of anger increases, your heart may start to race and you could feel sick to your stomach. These are 3 intensities of the emotion of anger. The weakest emotion is irritation. If you continue to experience irritation, it may grow stronger and become anger. Then, if anger gets stronger, you may experience the most intense level of anger, rage. These are also 3 levels of intensity for the emotion of happiness. The weakest emotion is satisfaction. If satisfaction gets stronger, it becomes happiness. If happiness continues to get stronger, it becomes joy. At different levels of intensity of happiness, you'll have different physical feelings. At satisfaction level, you would feel calm, your heart would be slow, and your muscles would be relaxed. At the happiness level, you might feel a little tingly, your muscles would be relaxed, and you would be smiling. At the joy level, your eyes would be bright and your chest might feel full. Your heart would probably beat a little faster than normal. There are 3 levels of intensity for the emotion of sadness. The weakest emotion is gloominess. If gloominess gets stronger, it becomes sadness. If sadness continues to get stronger, it becomes misery. When you're gloomy, you would feel like you don't have much energy, and you might not be interested in what's going on around you. When you are sad, you might feel tired and very disconnected, and may have a hard time concentrating. When sadness becomes misery, your level of tiredness and lack of focus may increase. There are 3 levels of intensity for the emotion of fear. The weakest emotion is worry. If worry gets stronger, it becomes fear. If fear continues to get stronger, it becomes terror. When you are worried, you might feel your muscles begin to tighten and your palms begin to sweat. When you are in fear, your stomach may begin to tighten, your back might stiffen, and your heart may begin to beat faster. When you are terrified, your muscles might tighten and you might begin to shake. Think about an emotion you've experienced today or within the past few days. Pause the video and write another entry in your emotion journal using handout 4.3. For this entry, be more specific about the intensity of the emotion that you describe. Think about the physical feelings you experienced and the strength of those feelings. Be sure the emotion label you choose matches the intensity of those feelings. When you're done, press play. Let's turn to the content questions for Unit 3, Lesson 4 in your iControl student workbook to check your understanding of this lesson. Pause the video while you answer the questions. When you're done, press play. For question 1, if you selected A, you are correct. The same kind of emotion can be weak or strong. We call this emotion intensity. For question 2, if you selected C, you are correct. Some emotion labels are used to describe the same emotion but at different intensities. For example, worry is a weaker version of fear. In Lesson 5, you're going to learn about emotion triggers. Identifying your triggers is an important part of having self-control. Triggers are things that set off your emotions. Different triggers can make you feel different emotions. For instance, being tripped in the hallway can make you feel angry or embarrassed. Taking a test can make you feel frustrated or overwhelmed. Seeing an old boyfriend or girlfriend talking to a new girlfriend or boyfriend can make you feel jealous, sad, or angry. It's important to understand that triggers and the emotions that follow are normal, and everyone experiences them. Anytime you feel an intense emotion, it's because something triggered it. A trigger is an act, event, or situation that causes you to react and to experience an emotion. The importance that a particular trigger has for you is directly related to the level of intensity of the emotion. For example, if your sister borrowed your favorite shirt without asking, you might be annoyed and tell her not to do that again. If she does it again, you might be angry, and if she borrows it again and spilled ketchup on it, you might be enraged. The triggers in this case would be seeing your sister wearing your shirt without asking, seeing your sister wearing your shirt again after you told her to ask first, and seeing the stain on your ruined shirt. In this example, the shirt is the trigger because it is important to you. It's your favorite shirt after all. So you might become angrier at the sight of seeing your sister in this particular shirt than if the shirt wasn't your favorite. Remember, it's not bad to have triggers or emotions, but problems can occur when you don't handle your emotions appropriately. You can end up acting in ways that get you in trouble. Understanding what triggers your emotions can help you make good choices and help prevent you from getting in trouble. Let's look at some examples of trigger maps. These maps will help you think about the triggers that cause your emotions and how you react as a result. It's important to understand that some triggers cause emotions that lead to negative behaviors, while others cause emotions that lead to positive or useful behaviors. The first example, getting tripped in the hallway, could trigger anger or even rage, and the resulting behavior would probably be negative. In the second example, you go to a party with a close friend, but she ignores you once you're inside. It's easy to see how your hurt feelings could lead to sadness, and you might do something like leaving the party without telling your friend first. Sometimes an emotion trigger can cause an emotion that leads us to behave in more productive or useful ways, such as in the third example. Exciting news, like being asked to play ball after school, might trigger intense happiness, which may help you stay positive and focused at school. Hearing a strange sound when you are home alone might trigger fear, but it could also lead to behaviors that help protect you, like being more alert. It's important to remember that triggers can cause specific emotions, and our behavior, whether good or bad, is harder to control when these emotions become intense. Now, you're going to make your own trigger map using handout 5.1. Think about a time when you've had an intense emotion that got you in trouble. First, think about your behavior during that situation. Write down that behavior in the action column on the right. Then, think about what intense emotions you were having. Think about whether your body gave you any signals or clues that you were feeling that emotion. Write that emotion and any physical signals or feelings in the emotion column on your map. Next, think about what triggered that emotion. Try to remember what you were feeling and thinking before the behavior occurred, and why you had those feelings. Think about who was involved and what the situation was, when and where it happened. Asking yourself who, what, when, and where gives you clues to help you identify your triggers. Pause the video while you fill in the map. When you're done, press play. Let's turn to the content questions for Unit 3, Lesson 5 in your iControl Student Workbook to check your understanding of this lesson. Pause the video while you answer the questions. When you're done, press play. For question 1, if you selected C, you are correct. Understanding your triggers can help you avoid getting in trouble. For question 2, if you selected D, you are correct. Triggers are things or experiences that set off your emotions. In Lesson 6, we're going to review sensations, feelings, and emotions. Sensations are the information your body collects from your surroundings. Feelings are the way your body responds, like when your heart races. And emotions are a label for how you feel, like angry or happy. Emotions have different functions. Emotional expressions can communicate how you feel to others, and they can give you information about how you feel about a situation or event. Emotions can be communicated verbally or non-verbally. The 4 common emotions that you've learned are happiness, fear, sadness, and anger. The intensity of emotion can be weak or strong depending on the situation. You might have stronger emotions if a pet dies or you fail a class. You might have weaker emotions if someone bumps into you or you drop a pencil. Triggers are things that set off your emotions. You use trigger maps to help you see that triggers cause emotions that lead to behaviors. By identifying triggers, you can handle your emotions appropriately and make good choices. Let's turn to the content questions for Unit 3, Lesson 6 in your iControl Student Workbook to check your understanding of this lesson. Pause the video while you answer the questions. When you're done, press play. For question 1, if you selected B, you're correct. Cher is getting ready to graduate 8th grade. She is picking out a graduation dress with her friends. Cher walks out of the dressing room after finding the perfect dress and is feeling joy. She would probably be showing it by smiling. For question 2, if you selected A, you're correct. Pedro throws his book across the classroom because he is really angry. A possible trigger for this emotion could be the reading was too difficult for him. Thank you for taking time to catch up with iControl today. In the following lessons, you'll learn how to use strategies to control your emotions.